Alright, so welcome everybody. I am live and this is my first go at doing this, so we are just going to chill out for a minute or two and just give everyone a chance to pop in. Hi Dory. Okay, do a sound check with me. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to assume that was a yes. Okay. Just making sure everybody can hear me. Okay, well, jumping in right along, welcome, welcome, welcome. So I am Marilee. I am the creator and founder of Designs M Studio. And my business has grown and changed dramatically over the last several years since its in creation. Starting out from my doodles and things that I sold and having that evolve onto canvases, and then transferring that information, or rather that art, over into other things like journals and bookmarks and stickers and what have you. Now I'm doing other things like 3D printed objects. So I've started making these little critters and they have been popping up everywhere, and I've joined on the bandwagon, so to speak. And a little bit as to my backstory as to what started it all. A little while ago, I was working with a vendor, so I'll try and make this as brief as possible, but I was working with a vendor and she had these articulated dragons that she had attached to her tumblers, and I was drawn into the dragons pretty quickly, and it made me curious as to how they were made, so I started doing some research. And as a luck turn of events, I ended up being asked if I could do a custom candle holder, which I make out of resin. For those who don't follow me, I do that as well. And they wanted a volcano style with dragons, so I figured it was a good excuse to try out printing an articulated dragon, which turned out pretty good. So I incorporated that into the candle holder, and that went off really well. After, of course, doing a couple of test prints. My test prints ended up being kids' toys, and my son, who is autistic, took quite a liking to them, quite an attraction to them. And so it dawned on me that he's really into fidget toys, and he's very black and white. He either really likes something or really doesn't like something. And it, made me realize that people that have kids who are either on the spectrum or just like to fidget, or even adults and teenagers who have a real fidgety thing, and we all do it to some degree, might find an attraction or a liking to this kind of thing. So I started experimenting, and I started out with the dragons, and this is what they look like. This is my glow-in-the-dark rendition of him. When I first started, I was doing them all in different colors, so I tend to do a serrated type of filament. For those who don't know, 3D printing is essentially printing or using a plastic, and there's different types of plastic that I can use. And I buy it in a roll similar to like a ball of yarn or string. And you can get it in different thicknesses, different densities, different colors, different styles, and essentially, like a printer, it gets fed through the mechanics of it, and rather than using ink, it uses the filament, and it creates 3D objects that you create in 3D world and transfer over into the digital world. It is quite a fascinating process, rather, and something I've been playing with. So in tail end of November, I thought I would print a couple out and see if there was any interest, and I sold out really quickly. And so I continued that same process over the course of the rest of my market season, about midway until December. So for about 4 or 5 weeks solid, I was making dragons and selling out. So that's kind of the what, the where, and the why. So now, while I don't have them on my website just yet, and I'm not putting them in my storefronts just yet, I'm sort of continuing the experimentation of figuring out what I can make with them. and rather what else I can make in this style. So I'm still doing the dragons as they are very popular, and I've had a couple custom orders that have come in and out. So if you're ever interested in a specific color or even a certain size, like this is my average size, and he's a good size. Like, he's not exactly small. So, I mean, if you were after something that was bigger, I won't go too much smaller than this, just because cautionary, if you go smaller, the fragility starts to present itself, particularly in the joints, because this is how it prints. This isn't something that I print piece by piece and then I stick it together. This is literally printed as it is, kind of like a chain link. And if you go too small, I mean, there's one material I might be able to get away with, do a little bit of testing, and I'll come back to that. But as of right now, with materials that I've currently been using, if I go too much smaller, there's a really good chance that it would basically, you go like this and it would snap. So it wouldn't even survive it coming off the printer. I've gone smaller, and while the main body of the dragon holds up, it's the tail that doesn't. This is where it snaps pretty much every time because it's the smallest part. So the smaller you go, the more fragile this section's going to get. So, and I've used those for other things, so I don't totally waste the pieces that I've broken off. But yeah, I'm open to doing different sizes if you're ever interested, and again, different colors based on what I have. So moving on from dragons, I've now been experimenting with other styles of things, including a different style of dragon. This one turned out really, really cute. He's still my favorite. And again, anything that's white glows in the dark. By the way, if you got any questions, fire away. I am watching the comments as much as I possibly can. Feel free to ask any questions. I know there were some questions about durability in a previous live that I was a part of. And the durability isn't bad. As long as I don't go too small on the links, they're not too bad. But keep in mind, like anything else, if it's used above and beyond the manner it's meant to, there's a probability it's going to break. So, I mean, with a slinky, if you were to pull it and twist it in a way that it's not meant to go, well, eventually it's going to snap or deform itself. These aren't any different. So, I mean, while a lot of them that I make have a lot of flexibility to them and a lot of, play, as my kid is extremely hard on these things and they've held up, again, pulled in the wrong way, and it could break. I mean, these haven't so far, and I'm good to go, but I have had some pieces like these, for example, that if they're done in just the wrong way, these can snap. So these ones that I've got whole or up for sale right now, these have actually held up pretty good. And these are some of the different pieces and shapes that I have available right now. So these ones are called a flexi. So you've got two different styles, articulated or flexi. So the dragons like this, they're more 3D, they're more round, something you can really hold. Those are articulated. These more flat-like shapes that can almost fold in on themselves. They're called a flexi, from what I've learned anyway. So I've got currently some starfish that are like that. And then, as you have all seen, the geckos, they've been quite the hit alongside my dragons. So I've got a few different geckos. One is red-topped, the other one is blue-topped, and they're from the same rainbow spectrum. They just stopped and started at different points. So this one just happened to start at the green, end at the blue, whereas this one started at actually kind of started where it stopped, ironically enough. Went from red and then faded off into more of a pinky orange at the top. So kind of, like I said, pink top. And these along the dragons they all kind of have a favorability to them in some way, shape, or form. The gecko can really shrink down, itsy bitsy. He's really great for just putting in your pocket. I tend to walk around with one almost all the time. I may not be on the spectrum like my son is, but I'm just as much of a fidgeter. And again, if we're all honest, we all fidget to some degree. I just offer a safer, non-chemical version of a fidget, and generally a little bit cheaper in the long run. So I tend to keep one in my pocket all the time. Again, it kind of twists up, holds up pretty good. I do make keychain versions of them, although I don't have any right now, but I did over the course of the last few weeks of December. I did make some keychain versions, and those sold really well. So, hello, hello, hello. Chemical free. It's plastic, so as far as I know, there's no harsh chemicals in them. But it's like anything. I mean, I haven't had anything negative come back from it, and I work with resin too, so between the two of them, I'd say resin would be more worrisome when it comes to a chemical base, and I make candle holders out of them, and I haven't had anything bad come from them. Resin, I use a food grade. These ones, I haven't heard or come across anything that would suggest that these would be dangerous from a chemical perspective. So just answering that. I hope that answered your question. It's something I can definitely look more into if you'd like, but as far as I know, it's relatively safe. I mean, I am going to say you need, if it's something you're buying for a kid, I would be subjective to your kid. You're the one that knows your kid. Okay. Oh, no, that's fine. From a liability perspective, I never flat out say that it's like, I'm very careful with how I phrase things, like, just for that exact reason. I mean, I paint characters and things that I name things very carefully, again, from a liability perspective. I mean, and it's the same thing with these things. Like, if you're giving it to a kid, my children are older, and I know some have bought them for younger children. But you have to remember, too, like anything, if these were to snap and break, which may or may not over time, the links will break into pieces. So there is a probability of a child swallowing them. So 3, 4, 5, and younger may not be recommended, depending on the type that you go for. These ones are a little better for that. These ones would be debatable, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But no, I'm very cautious with how I phrase things. No, I'm very careful because you're right. I don't want to get into that kind of trouble. Not something I ever want. It's actually one of the biggest reasons why I refrain from certain art things that I've never dabbled into, just because of skin sensitivities and allergies and things like that. Like, I'm cautious. I've dabbled a little bit into candle making in the last little while, for example, but it's something I'm very ginger with. So, moving on. So, like I said, I've got the little geckos. And then I have a few other... I've gone very sea creature-y for some reason, aside from, you know, the geckos and dragons. I've got a fun little shark, and this has the same pattern that the geckos do. They've got the same rainbow spectrum. Now, keeping in mind that if you're ordering something that has a rainbow spectrum, I only get this spectrum if I print more than one at a time. So in a variegated ring, there's a chunk of color, or there's several different colors and it's done in chunks. So if I print one octopus by itself, for example, it was using the same variegated line that I was using. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But because I only printed the one octopus, it happened to be the one section of orange that I ended up with. Same thing when I did it again later, where it just happened to hit the right transition and I got a two-toned octopus where it went from darker orange to the lighter orange. So the only way for me to get the rainbow look would be to print, like, you know, anywhere from, let's say, 2 to 3 dragons, or 2 to 3, I'll reframe that, 2 to 3 geckos or things like that at once, where it has time to separate the colors out, where there's time to do that. Dragons are a little bit different. I find I can print one at a time and get the rainbow. More so, I figure it's because of the fact that it's a bigger item, so it has time to run through all the colors. So you can end up with a rainbow and only have to print one at a time, which was kind of nice. And then again, showing off, I've got a few of the octopus, and I have a few of the colored ones left right now. I don't know where my green one went, but I've got these four little critters, or three little critters rather, of different orange tints, ranging from a bit of a gold to medium range oranges. And then I've got a dark green that is the same tone as this starfish here. And again, I have no idea where he went. He was kicking around here somewhere. And then again, I will be releasing new items every week. So every Monday at some point, there's no guarantee as to when on the Monday. I'm a full-time mom, so it can be juggled around that once the kids go to school, I can figure all that out. But on Monday, I release a new set of collections that will be added to the previous set of whatever's left. So a little bit of a spoiler alert, I am working on some more critters. So as per request from Dory, as she's really into unicorns, I went and found her a unicorn. It's actually not that bad. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find one, just because the ones I was finding I wasn't really too thrilled about. But this was not too bad. Again, if it's white like this, it glows in the dark. And yeah, they're really super cute. It's kind of fun finding different designs and figuring out what I can do with it. So this one flecks like this, you know, kind of a keel over effect, which is what makes me think of it. I just have to paint him. So once I paint him, you'll be able to see some of the finer details, like he's got a little bit of an eyelash going on there, and then the horn, and you know, there's some wings going on his one part of his back and those kinds of things. So I will definitely paint him up and show him off, and I'm at the process of actually printing a slightly bigger version of this by about 50%. So it's almost the size of one of those dragons, just to see how that turns out. And then I've got a few of these ready to go already, but I have some glow-in-the-dark octopus that will join the release on this upcoming Monday. Otherwise, I'm working on some other projects. I have found some other critters. I'm working on a possible wolf. What else did I just recently find? A larger turtle, and a few other designs that I'm looking for and going to start playing with. That being said, were there any designs you might want to see? I mean, Dory suggested the unicorn, and that took some doing. But I am open to any suggestions that you guys might want to see in the future that I can add to my list of search and try. Alrighty, well, I will leave that out there. If you come up with any ideas or any critter ideas that you would like to see in the future, feel free to drop them in any of the posts that I put up. So again, I release these new ones every Monday, and they will be up either through reels or posts or stories in some way, shape, or form. I usually pin whatever is new and still available at the top of each of my platform pages. Eventually, I will put them on my website, but I won't be doing that for another month or so. I kind of want to do this social media thing first and see how everything goes. And then I'll go through the process of putting it all on my website. So, and if you're interested in purchasing one, all you need to do is simply just comment either on the post itself or DM me which one you're interested in. And if you are local to me in the area, it's easy enough to arrange a drop off or pickup. If you're a little further out, like on Sunday night, I had someone reach out from Ontario. I have no problem shipping one to you. And then we can just kind of go from there. Now, depending as to where you're from, shipping rates are going to be anywhere from 25 to 27, depending on what end of Canada you're in. If you're further out, obviously it's going to be potentially a little more. It just depends on where you are exactly. I know that shipping to the US it's not that bad. I usually play pretty close within that price range. So that's what you're looking at. And these critters all range between, based on the ones I have right now, all these little ones are $10 each. The dragons, or rather, this style of dragon is 20, and then the other style of dragon, this one is 30. Also keep in mind, if you do request a certain critter or pay me for creating one specific for you, as just keep patience in mind. These things take quite a while to print. Even if I were to do a batch print, which I try not to do just because it's kind of complicated printing more than one at a time. It can be done, but it's a temperature thing. These, again, they take quite a bit of time. Like this one dragon, this one took almost 12 hours to print, and then I had to paint him yet. So keeping that in mind. These littler ones, these take anywhere from an hour and a half to 2. Sometimes 3. The octopus are closer to 3. So these ones aren't bad. They just range depending on their size and complexity, right? So please bear that in mind. Otherwise, I think that is about it. Did anyone have any questions or comments or anything you wanted to know? And I appreciate the commentary there, Jody. I don't know if there's any comments I've missed. I don't think so. Okay, well, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the evening, and I think I will do another one of these next week once I have the rest of my next release done. I will do another video showcasing what is up and coming and will be available. So I thank everybody who has joined in on this one. I really appreciate the support, and again, please like, follow, and share, and check out the new lineup. Thank you, Dory. I will see everybody later. Have a great night.